them taking time out of their busy schedule, and we'll introduce them all here in just a moment. But have a brief release I'll read that certainly justifies their recognition. We would like to recognize and thank the Liberty Rotary Club for several contributions of time, financial support, and commitment toward the students of Liberty Public Schools. Last year, Rotary leadership came to LPS looking to serve and support the literacy needs of our LPS students. Thus, the Rotary Readers Initiative was born. Rotary Readers has provided over $6,000 and over 1,000 books to support the reading needs of 60 students of Manor Hill and Lillian Schumacher. Several Rotarians were trained to be youth mentors and volunteer their time supporting students. We know about that awesome program. Students are excited to receive books chosen for them by their librarian from Rotary Readers, and teachers appreciate the time volunteers spend supporting their students. Liberty Public Schools would also like to recognize the Rotary for their establishment of the Interact Clubs at two schools, South Valley Middle School and Heritage Middle School. They financially supported the sponsors at both schools, provided leadership for the community service clubs, provided t-shirts, and attended meetings for the connection between Rotary and Interact. Our students have had experiences that they wouldn't have had if the Rotary hadn't provided their vision of these clubs. Thank you to the Liberty Rotary Club for your ongoing support in many ways to Liberty Public Schools. So I mentioned several individuals with us tonight. The president, Mr. Frank Dixon, is here with us. I'm going to have Mr. Dixon come to the podium and introduce our guests with us. We not only have these three young ladies that are members of Rotary, but I was also told, of course, there's some others maybe throughout the room. So the podium is yours.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the honor tonight. Actually, it's our pleasure. And to be honest with you, without Andrea Sumi and Colleen Jones, a lot of this wouldn't have happened. They have been tremendous, and they meet with us quite often to help with these initiatives and to coach us and guide us through what's the best thing to do, because we really don't know what's the best. The teachers and students, teachers and faculty know much better than we do. So as I'm actually the outgoing president. We have my last day is June 30th. But Wendy Coffey is our incoming president, and Jody Sunderman will be her president-elect, and Lynn Driggers. And all four of us actually do volunteer and do the youth mentor. We did the youth mentor program, and I actually find it very rewarding. I do at Manor Hill with Kelly Owen over there, and actually it is one of the highlights of my week to go spend about an hour over there with the kids. And your two board members, David Evans and Dr. Tucker, are both also Liberty Rotarians. So they provide great insight. Actually, Dr. Tucker started that conversation. We used an old dictionary thing that this wasn't used much, so he told us about Project Lead the Way, and we all got started. So thank you very much for the honor, and we appreciate the school district's relationship with the club. So.
Awesome. Let's give them a round of applause. To present to you guys. So, all right. Thank you very much. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And before I wrap up, I have a plaque. I always love bringing plaques in here. This is cool. And if many of you may have been able to see this in the last few weeks, as our Board of Education was one of only 7 districts statewide to receive the Teaching, Learning, and Assessment Award at the Missouri School Boards Association Leadership Summit at the Lake of the Ozarks back on Saturday, June the 2nd of 2018. The Outstanding Boards of Education Awards were aligned to 6 specific categories of the Missouri Public Education Vision projects. Winners in their respective categories were selected by a committee made up of school board members from districts throughout the state. So awesome achievement for the Board of Education in Liberty Public Schools. So I don't expect our board members to necessarily clap, but let's give them a great achievement there. And I have to embarrass Angie Reed. Congratulations to board member Angie Reed, as she was also recognized for achieving advanced certification in the Missouri School Boards Association Certified Board Member Program at the 2018 MSBA Leadership Summit on June the 2nd. So we were able to tweet that out as well following that exciting weekend. So let's give Miss Reed a big round of applause. Congratulations to all again, and have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you, Dallas. We'll take a break here in a minute so that we can each individually meet with our honorees tonight. Before we do that, I wanted to state that there should be blue cards right outside there if anyone's here that wants to address the board. You fill one of those cards out and give it to Dr. Tucker or one of the board members, and we'll be sure to give you a chance during public comment then to speak. And we will come back at 7:20 with the rest of the agenda.
How was your day?
Yep. Did anyone get any blue cards? So next on the agenda is 3.03, approving the agenda. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Do we have a second? Discussion? Roll call, please.
Scott. David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And again, I don't have cards, no one has one, so the public comment. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Most of the items listed under the consent agenda have gone through board subcommittee review and recommendation. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. Do you have a motion on the consent agenda?
Move the board approve consent agenda items 4.01 through 7.0.
Second.
Did you say 0? 4?
Four.
Five.
Five.
4.
Yeah, but there's 7 on 5 items.
Okay. 7.05.
Second.
Do you have a second on the motion?
Yes.
All right. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call please.
Scott?
Yes.
7.0.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick? Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Brings us to unfinished business, 8.01, 2018-19 district budget.
Yeah, so those of you that have been following over the course of the spring semester, you know that we've been working on this for some time. And if anything, it's really kind of a monthly basis as we look to our numbers and figures as it relates to expenditures and revenues over the course of the entire school year. From a planning standpoint, getting ready for the fiscal year. We started those conversations with building principals and directors in early spring. We began conveying information to the board in March as it relates to revenues and anticipated expenditures. We saw our preliminary budget document back in May. And so here we are in the month of June, ready to present that to you for approval this evening. If you wonder what the Business Services Department will do pending your approval, they started with the audit today. So never a dull moment within the Business Services Department. So appreciate all the efforts of Cindy Sullivan and her team, as well as all of our administrators, really diving in and assessing what our students' needs are and looking to be able to meet those. So I wanted to turn it over to Cindy for any additional thoughts as we wrap up this process of bringing things for your approval this evening, knowing that as soon as it's approved, it's wrong, and that we will continue to look at it and look at our revenues as they come in and make those adjustments. So Cindy?
Document before you tonight is the same document you did see in May. Nothing was changed between then and now. The first order of business to amend the budget will be after the tax rate hearing is held in August, and then closely followed by employee cost projections and the state revenue piece. So those will be the first order of business to update the budget. I don't anticipate that there will be great changes to it at that point, but what you see tonight is a good indicator of where we still hope and anticipate being at the end of next year.
Questions from the board?
Nothing on the revenue side has changed since we met last.
No. The state budget still has not been signed by the governor, so we don't have any indication that that will change from where it is at right now. The property, I still have not received any indication of property tax. I have not received our preliminary assessed valuations from the county yet. Maybe next week, they said. So I really don't have any idea of what those changes will be at this point.
Appreciate all the work on this and the months we've spent going back to taking a look at this monthly and then spend time at the retreat in early June to dig deep into this.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions, or does anyone want to make a motion on the budget?
Move the board adopt the 2018-2019 district budget.
For a second?
Second. Whoever.
Comments or discussion or questions before we vote? Seeing none, roll call please.
Sky?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
8.02, where we were going.
The next item we've shared with you as well, and that's been our thoughts as it relates to growing the applicant pool, specifically as it relates to the teacher applicant pool diversity. And so we had a presentation earlier this spring, Mr. Rosecrans and now Dr. Dixon Seymour. Congratulations. I had to work that in, sorry. Well, we wanted to bring them back and just kind of share this with you in terms of this proposal moving forward. We're excited about this opportunity to invest in our young people and really walk through their journey into education with them. And we were able to identify those that see education as a potential career. So I wanted to turn it over to them. Any additional thoughts, comments from their perspective, and open it up for questions later on.
We're going to sing a two-part melody.
Right.
We did not prepare, unless you want us to rehash some of the highlights, I would prefer just to answer questions, if that's all right. You're just setting us up.
I'm trying to turn this off and then we'll try. One of the things, I just wanted to make this comment. One of the things that was presented to us is that as our district and as our community becomes more diverse, this is one of the reasons we want to do this kind of stuff. I think it's a good idea regardless. I think we want to see diversity in teacher ranks regardless. It's not just because our district is becoming diverse, but we're preparing our kids to be citizens of the world. And so that's, I think, the right reason to do it. And I have no other questions. I love you guys to agree.
Thank you.
Is there much different from the document we had today and from previous presentation?
We might highlight a couple of the success metrics. I think that was maybe a question. And some of the obvious metrics when you measure success in a program like this, where there's going to be a 4-year delay, some of those obvious ones, we don't want to wait that long in order to demonstrate internally to our internal public, certainly to the board and to the community that we are on the right track. So we have come up with, we've been thinking about these things for a long time, but a couple of things to consider. Earlier this past school year, we participated as a district in a survey that was presented to our students through Teach KC, and Dr. Moore, I think, has the specifics on that. But a big portion of those results were designed to measure student interest in careers. And so we have access to all the students in the 3 high schools who indicated even a small interest in teaching or considering teaching as a career. So we're going to take that data and use that in our marketing strategies to earmark, making sure that we are earmarking the right students, and particularly students of color, and that will help us in these beginning stages and ongoing stages of our marketing plan. So we will track that information as we develop this marketing campaign, and certainly we will monitor that not only from year to year, but maybe even semester to semester to make sure that we're not only hitting the right folks and presenting the information as such, but listening to them and changing that marketing with their input, certainly. So.
And then the next 2 in terms of success metrics. Obviously, by spring of next year, we want to see 4 students, 2 from Liberty North and 2 from Liberty High School. And then we just thought about, as we were having a conversation, there may possibly be a 5th student at Liberty Academy that may rise to the surface after being properly vetted through the application process. So we're saying 4 to 5 students of color who would then go through this process, the application process, the interviews that that will ensue, and then we would want to showcase this as a big event for spring of next year. So that's a success matrix. We don't want to fall short there. We don't want to say to you, oh, we only got 2. We want to end up with 4 to 5. The next thing is being able to pair them up as soon as possible with a mentor teacher. Teachers that are saying, I'm willing to kind of take them under my wing and follow them along this 4-year journey. So that means we have to have a process then for those teachers to apply for and really make a commitment to that 4-year journey with that student. We see that as part of our success metrics as well. And then those same students then, we want them to, when they get to year 4 and it's time to do student teaching, then to pair them up with the right person for that experience as well. So we see the mentorship piece and then the student teaching experience, 2 different things. We want to make sure we pair them with the right people, because we want to make sure that there are people that are really encouraging them to stay with this, because we have found that sometimes in education, we can be our own worst enemy and discouraging students from, I see the bobbleheads over there, discouraging them away from the profession when we need to be saying, yes, you would make a great educator. We want you to come back. What do I need to support you? So that's a success matrix for it.
And finally, and it always comes to this, dollars. The amount of money that we're requesting that the board consider in helping get this started, we view as seed money, quite frankly. And our wonderful Education Foundation, I've already had impromptu conversations with Ms. Campbell, and we're looking to mount a campaign through them that would perhaps in part target our only employees to help with the dollars. And we also want and have already begun to have conversations with potential receiving universities and colleges with these students. One university that I don't know, Dr. Vogler, I'll not mention it, I'll let him do it, and then it's okay. But we have a major university already who has shown great interest, and I would say a commitment. We just have to work out the details, because they've got things to gain with these students too. And so we're not just going to rest on and rely solely upon one source. That's not good business management, I don't believe. And our thought is to grow this and grow it properly at the right time. And neither one of us are very patient people, but we know that we've got to do this. You know, there are certain dominoes that have to fall, and we will not be doing this by ourselves. The 3 high schools, those staff members, and certainly the students are going to be a great help along the way. It's a little exciting. Bob would tell you that I'm probably not the most risk taker type of employee, but I'm really excited about this program because I think it's the right thing to do, as Mr. Connor said. But we need to make sure that we are giving every student ultimate opportunity in becoming who they need to become. And we're a little bit biased as educators that a lot of those kids need to become teachers. And so hopefully we'll see that happen.
The GPA and ACT requirements for the selection process, is that pretty standard with what other districts have done?
Yeah, the proposal that we presented to you is kind of an amalgamation of a lot of the programs from Wichita and Topeka, Raytown, Columbia, and Fort Zuma are really the 5 or so programs that have some history with this already. So, but yeah, that's pretty standard. So, hopefully it's not too high and not too low.
Seems like the bar is a little low there, but if that's what others have done successfully.
And, you know, another metric is we will always be monitoring this. You know, those kinds of changes you can't do in midstream, certainly. But if we find that that's too high, too low, whatever it may be, we can make those adjustments for the following years.
And if I could just add a personal note here, I don't know how to do this any other way. I think about my own personal journey as an educator. And in high school, I had a 2.75 GPA. Not because I couldn't do the work, but because I was more of a socialite Julie and I have this code every time. But so, other things were more important to me than just really just trying to get straight A's. Okay, so that didn't mean that I wasn't a good student or great student. I came out of undergrad with a 3.0. Then I went on to get my master's, 3.5, 9, whatever. Specialist degree, 4.0, doctorate. I don't even know what the grade is. I just know I passed all the classes. So, in having that conversation about GPA, we looked at what the other districts are doing and kind of stuck with that norm, but we could raise the bar to 3.0, and I'm certain students would still rise to the occasion, or not, or lower it to 2.5. But I think the goal is getting them interested in the field itself and removing as many barriers as possible for why I can't do it or don't want to do it. So that's kind of the selling point there. But we're not trying to lower the standard for the quality of the product we're getting.
And I think the idea too is that there are myriad variables that are going into play on selecting individuals, and so you don't want the focusing effect of a GPA to cause people to opt themselves out, and then they never get the opportunity to bring those other variables to the table.
So hopefully that addresses that concern.
So thanks for the success criteria. But I also ask the committee who's going to be making the decision on who moves forward. Have you guys thought about who comprises that committee selection?
We'll reconvene our little kernel group before school starts and start working out those details. And if we need a board member representative, I know volunteer.
Any questions or comments on this item? Do you have a recommended action for these movements?
I move the board approve the Career Teacher Program.
Second? Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Number 3, district curriculum.
Uploaded in your packet this evening, you have 2 sets of district curriculums to forward. The first of which is K-12 PE and Health, which is presented to you this evening for your consideration for approval. Keep in mind that was shared with you earlier last month. So bringing to your second brief, appreciate all of our curriculum groups, committees, staff that pour into that and get that teed up for approval of the board. Second set is presented to you this evening for first read, and subsequently we will bring back to you in July for approval, that being 8th grade through 12th grade international languages. So you'll have a month to dive into that, take a look at that, pose any questions that you may have, certainly to myself or any services that you will reach into. Anything to add, Dr. Heide or Dr. Westfall, regarding the recommendations?
No, I concur. Just really appreciate the work that the teachers, the Curriculum Council, Dr. Westfall, heads of state have done, because it definitely was led by our teachers, and we have outstanding teachers.
Questions for them?
So the international languages is new to us this month, but we'll see them in July. So for action, then on the K-12 PE health, we have a motion.
I move the board approve the K-12 PE health curriculum.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, roll please.
Scott? David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie? Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Real estate purchase?
So 8.04 is a result of our long-range planning conversation over really the last year and a half, almost 2 years. We've been discussing that and looking at needs for the district. It made sense in our conversations toward planning at the board level to be able to reel in what we've been renting or leasing as it relates to our facility and ground center. And so we're bringing the contract to you this evening for consideration. We've had multiple conversations around this. We will procure a 27-acre site location to be able to take on as a district, but then also consider potential future use. We look at perhaps down the road consolidate support services functions at that particular location. So we've got some specific information, language shared with you this evening regarding that contract. I want to turn it over to Mr. Anderson for additional questions.
I think nothing to add other than would appreciate consideration to execute and vote on this tonight. That would allow us to move forward and complete the transaction and stop paying rent.
Remind me, what are we roughly paying in rent?
$120,000 a year.
With almost bought it.
Pretty close. A little shy.
And then we've done the due diligence on some sort of environmental.
We have, so with the normal steps you take, you do the title report, you do the environmental assessment and the survey work. The environmental assessment, we conducted what's known as a phase 1, where they do kind of a pretty detailed research of the site. And if there's anything that is found in that initial research, it would trigger a phase 2, where they start kind of getting into the site and doing some borings and such. There was nothing found of concern in the assessment, and so we did not need to proceed to phase 2.
Discussions, recommended actions, and to turn that into a motion.
Be it resolved in that the Board of Education of the Liberty Public School District number 53 has determined that additional grounds are needed by the district for school purposes. The board hereby approves the purchase of approximately 27.29 acres in Clay County, Missouri from Lab Rental LLC and Brian V. and Lisa J. Thomas as legally described and for the terms set forth in the written agreement in the form presented to the board and attached to this resolution. And the President of the Board of Education is authorized to execute this agreement on behalf of the school district and is further authorized to execute, if necessary, an addendum to the attached written agreement extending the due diligence period and closing date for a period of no more than 30 days from the dates stated in the attached agreement.
Any discussion? I don't think I caught all that.
Totally. Scott? David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Jess, how are we going to do that?
Business and contracts and purchases.
The first contract item that is presented to you is for Didacts Incorporated, which is tied to math curriculum approval. So this is supplementary materials in terms of the recommendation for these. The cost of $74,826.06 that will then allow us to hit the ground running. Anything to add to that, Dr. Hyde?
Yeah, it's with the approved, you've already had Math Solutions that's come before the board, so this is extras to help support the teachers in that work with the curriculum resource. Would you add anything?
Remind me what level of curriculum is this? Middle or high?
Okay, ECC is included in this.
Oh, okay.
So through fifth grade.
And then the second contract that's presented to you this evening is for Kelly Services Incorporated, and that is our recommendation as we had responses to the request for proposal to outsource our substitute services. That fiscal note is approximately $1.8 million. And we'll ask Dr. Vogelar to add an addition for that this year.
Yes, thank you. The addition since our last meeting, we updated, and I have to commend Jason Bright for his work and leadership through this RFP process, and Dee, who was the project manager on this RFP process. We were able to negotiate with Kelly, the recommended vendor, a 29% markup fee across the board. The initial RFP was for 33%, so we negotiated that down. So that is a change in the positive for Liberty Public Schools.
Again, I appreciate human resources as well as Team Liberty in spending quite a bit of time. We went back 4 or 5 years as we looked at this issue, subfill rates, and tried to create solutions around it internally, getting us to this point where that's the appropriate step moving forward. And also, as we start the fall semester, utilizing Team Liberty as well to look at how to convey and communicate out the building the kind of the data that we see in our trend. Perhaps additional solutions.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that you're working closely with Kelly Services so that if we've got substitutes that have been really effective in the schools, we're going to be able to get on roll quickly and be able to continue to be on the list to bring into the building.
Correct. That was one of our criteria in the RFP, and then we clarified that with Kelly, that based solely upon our recommendation for subs, they would acquire them. Obviously, the subs have to desire to work for Kelly, but if they do and we endorse that, Kelly will hire them.
And this 1.8 million is not incremental to the budget, right? I mean, we paid substitutes previously out of our own pocket.
Correct. Yeah, this is not a 1.8 million increase over our current spend, and I don't know what our current spend
The
was.
5-year average on the sub cost was just shy of $1.5 million, and that was with a 95% fill rate. So I grossed it up to 100% on that 5-year average and added, at that time, the budget was created 33%, so I will be able to bring that down.
As one of the responses to that issue, we opted a year or two ago to add in some full-time substitutes, but then we also repeal that out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then, yeah. So if you recall, when we discussed expenditures, how the total spend on salaries went from 80 to 78%, plus some, and that accounts for taking the cost of subs full-time and as-needed basis out of the salary projection.
Yeah, and that 95% average, of course, trended out. We've been tracking this data since 2011, where we were just under 97% fill rate. This year finished with 91.8% fill rate, so a significant drop, and it's been a pretty steady decline in that regard. So.
I move the board approve the contract with Kelly Services Inc. and the curriculum material purchase.
Second. Discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Abstain.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy? Motion carries.
Reimbursement.
We do have a reimbursement check under 1902, this is the amount of $100.44, issued by check number 68545 County for NSBA conference expense reimbursement tied to the National School Board
I move the board approve check number 685451 issued to Kimberly Jones for
Second.
Pretty high check.
Roll call, please.
Scott? David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Abstain.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
1819 professional development.
This item is one we bring to you annually, so appreciate the work of our professional development committee. Dr. Westfall works closely with that group. But they really chart the course for each year's professional learning opportunities. In hindsight, each year, they also do an assessment to determine what our teachers' perspectives are, but certainly what their professional development, professional work is. That's culminated as it's offered to staff through events like our Pineapple PD that we did this last year, induction meetings, first of year meetings, just kind of riddled throughout the course of the year with our district. We present that to you this evening for approval. Anything to add to that, Dr. Westfall? Again, appreciate her team, the work that they do to keep us moving forward.
I move the board adopt the 2018-19 professional development plan.
Second. Any questions?
Seen it before?
Roll call, please.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
1819 meal prices.
Another annual action item for the board to consider is each year's subsequent meal prices. It wasn't too long ago, it seems, the Healthy Hungry Free Kids Act was passed in 2010, causing districts to transition in their meal prices. So what you see reflected here this evening is a continuance of that act that was created back in 2010, 2012. So you have the schematic as to historical information, and also looking at 1819, what our costs would be from breakfast at the elementary level, secondary level, adult prices, but then also as it relates to lunches for each of those categories, and also our prices looking into the 1819 school year. So we present that to you this evening for your consideration. Anything to add to that?
Just other than it's a pretty tight metric, there's a lot of different variables in place, and, you know, we always would like not to raise meal prices this year. It's just, I think, just the lunch, slight adjustments to the lunch rates, breakfast untouched, so kind of hand you're dealt once you kind of put it into that metric.
Questions? Motion?
The board approve the 2018-2019 breakfast and lunch prices.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Scott? David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, our last item of new business, we started with tonight after our work session with interviews for audit and finance. We have up to 5 slots available with 1 slot being the unexpired term. And then we have 4 applicants total. Interviewing with them, discussing with them. So what we've got is 2 recommended actions. So we can appoint someone to the unexpired term, make up those terms. And then after that, we want to do a motion on the unexpired and then we can have a separate motion on the full 3-year terms. Anyone wants any discussion or make a motion on the unexpired term?
You want the unexpired one first?
Craig Johnson. The board appoint Craig Johnson to be appointed to complete the unexpired term on March 9th.
Second. And this, the reason, instead of just doing all 3-year terms that we talked about was so that we've got this natural rolling on from people. We have some opportunity for some fresh faces in a couple of years and not have everyone in 3 years. So part of the committee. So then, is there any other questions, discussion on? Roll call, please.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie? Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we've got 3 other applicants. We would have a motion for the 3-year terms.
The board appoint Allison Gardner, Ryan Joy, Sari Cantrell to serve on the audit and finance committee.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
So Scott and David, correct? Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That concludes new business. We're on to reports.
First up is academic services report. So we'll turn it to Dr. Adams.
Tonight you see on our agenda items that there are several board reports and evaluations out there. So federal programs, parents as teachers, professional development, special education, and early childhood special education. And special thanks to Dr. Chris Martin for special education and the report and the work that she's done with our students and our staff members, Dr. Jeanette Westfall with PD and curriculum development, Sarah Burke in early childhood and the work that she's done, and Miss Becky Gossett. And I may say this with tears in my eyes because this is her last official board meeting as a Liberty School District employee, and I would personally just like to thank her for her guidance, love, direction, support, friendship, and everything else that she's given Liberty Public Schools for the last, I don't even know how long, as a parent, as an educator, and early childhood, and parents as teachers, and district administration, and I could go on and on and on. So thank you very much. And then I did want to assure the board that academic services as well as HR are partnering with each other daily to continue to monitor class sizes as enrollment shifts and varies throughout the district. And it's continual conversations that we have. And so just so that you are aware that that's something that is ongoing as we are looking at classroom by classroom, school by school, to make sure that our students have the very best and class sizes that are appropriate.
Any questions for Thank you, Dr. Heidi. Congratulations, Ms. Gossett. We expect to see you on the Kelly Services list. Yes. Next up then is finance.
I have several donations to present to you tonight. A monetary donation from Cheryl Sharkey in the amount of $27,133 to purchase a 10-passenger van for the Gateway program. A monetary donation from Liberty Hospital in the amount of $3,000 to assist with the purchase of an outdoor shade structure at Shoal Creek. A monetary donation from Fun Rolls Ice Cream in the amount of $1,625 to be used for student activities at Liberty High School. And a monetary donation from Patricia and Wayne Wint in the amount of $500 to be used for student needs and resources determined by the Shoal Creek, or the school nurse at Shoal Creek. We'd like to thank all of them for their very generous donations to our district.
Did you say 2,700 or 27,000?
I said $27,133. She is a staff member, actually, in the Gateway program, and felt they had a need of a van that could add to our white fleet and that they could have access to transport the Gateway students to their experiences in learning to cope with real life and their real life skills. So she saw a need that she felt she could meet, and I met with her, and it was a phenomenal meeting, and she's a very enthusiastic woman and just very passionate about what she does.
I appreciate all of the gifts, but...
Yeah. Yes. So, yep, she was very happy to do it, so, yeah. The other thing I just wanted to point out to you is that the Audit and Finance Committee did meet on Monday night to review the financial statements and other things, procedures and whatnot from the district, and they did not have anything to present to you, and I would like to thank you for the interview process tonight and the onboarding of 4 new people to the committee. I look forward to meeting with them in July and starting out a good year with full committee.
Next up, Human Resources, Dr. Billmore.
Thank you very much. Several items on the report that's attached. I do want to draw your attention to a couple of them. One is with regard to wellness. The completed all 3 number on there, 73.82%, is outdated just in the past week or so since we uploaded this report. It is now right at an even 80%. So Rebecca Fisher, our wellness coordinator, was excited to report that to me to share with you this evening. Other thing I wanted to identify in the report is with regard to our Network for Educator Effectiveness. We included statistics of our aggregate trend on the district indicators, 4.1 and 5.1 over the course of the year, and you see where the teachers in their classroom observations fared over the course month by month. That statistical data shows what we want it to show, which is steady increase as teachers engage in professional development and work in partnership with their principals. Next year, the two district-wide indicators will be 2.5, builds on students' prior experiences, learning strengths and needs, and 7.4, which is monitors effect of instruction on individual and class learning. So those will be the two district-wide indicators. As you know, each building can pick two more individual building indicators so that there'll be 4 indicators of focus across the system for every school. There's also an enrollment update. Kelly Solari did ask me to include the 3 disclaimers there on the numbers that lots of influx movements on our student counts happen in the summer months. That's understandable, so those numbers are to be taken with a grain of salt. That's the HR report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you.
Dr. Vogel. Next up, Mr. Peterson.
Thanks. Apart from what's already included in the operations report, I'll just kind of give a quick update on some of the construction activity underway. Liberty High School, Liberty North concession stands, both of those will be able to turn the keys over to the folks at the building tomorrow. So we've kind of finished that and passed through the city inspection process. The last remaining piece of both of those projects are the donor plaza, paver plaza, and we expect those to be wrapped up here at the end of July into maybe early August. And then we're kind of done with those projects. Liberty Academy, expect that to be ready for occupancy in mid-July. So there's a couple things that are kind of wrapping up there. Tennis was within consent for the tennis bids. We kind of teed that up earlier. So that work will begin tomorrow, and they'll start moving dirt and working to get those in place as soon as possible right now. If everything falls into place fairly well, we hope to have that done in mid-September. But we're working very closely, coordinating with the contractors. We're thankful that the 3 main contractors are local folks. They're very familiar with each other, and they're able to kind of work closely to kind of overlap where they can in their work. And then the Liberty Middle School, Liberty North, secure entries. If you have a chance, if you've been up in either of those buildings lately, they're really kind of making great progress. Both of those projects should be done here towards the end of July. And then also the Liberty Middle School gym is getting a complete makeover, floor and throughout, and that will also be done this summer.
The other thing I would add, Cindy and Steve have both been very close to this, coordinating and working with Universal Office. For those of you that were on the board the last time we went through the bond project and how we communicated the financing, we kind of track it each month. Draw down bond proceeds to be able to pay off contracts and so forth. We're going to be taking the next several weeks to really shore that up and solidify it as we see the first draw. So when we come back around at our July meeting, we'll put that in front of you. Under the process and kind of one plan on a page, so to speak, as to how we trap everything associated with the project. Starting budget to our final expenditures on project completion as to what's coming in. Projects take shape over the course of the next several months. Appreciate Steve. Under the superintendent's report, I do have a couple things to add. This time of year, people often ask, what are you going to do during the summer? Assuming that it slows down, but it has not yet slowed down. I don't anticipate that happening. A couple things from our board retreat that we held a couple of weeks back. We talked about a book study, and so you should have in front of you this orange, yellow covered book entitled What School Could Be by Ted Dintersmith. And so we wanted to give that to you on the first official day of summer. This is your summer reading list, and we're going to have some homework for you. And as we reconvene in September with our study sessions, we're going to dive in and have some conversations about things perhaps that you've gleaned that are new to you. Then my other challenge would be, as you read this book and you learn about innovative practices going on across the country, I want you to be thinking about whether or not some of the things that you're hearing about are in place in the public schools. So my sense will be that we'll be able to hopefully identify some things that we have that we're working on as a school district, but then also some things that we might want to explore as we have these conversations at our study sessions. That's the first piece. The second piece that you have at your desktops is this document right here. It's laminated and would encourage you to fold it up and put it in your wallet, carry it in your purse, bring it to the board meeting because it reflects our strengths based on the work of Tom Rath and Barry Poche tied to strengths-based leadership. We've done this for, I believe, the last 5 years. and several other districts that I'm aware of do this as well. But what's captured on this sheet is all of the boards, as well as our board secretary's strengths. On the back side of it, you'll see our cabinet team strengths. I would encourage you to go back to this book periodically as you think about what each of these areas entail, and also as you think about one another's perspectives and where people are coming from. And so if you have the strength of being futuristic or strategic or intellectual, okay, unpack that a little bit and tell me why Steve Anderson takes the way he takes, and why Sandra takes the way that she does, and Nick and so forth. I think it's fascinating when you think about the work that we do. But then also maybe even take it a step further and become a little more strategic about bringing thoughts together and individuals to the conversation, perhaps in a particular space or strategic, intentional process or proposal that we're developing. So take a look at that and certainly refer to that periodically as we continue on in the transition into this next school year. A couple of other things I wanted to add to my report. Two in particular that kind of are in the realm of workforce development. Conceptually, across the country, there's something that's referred to as education clusters. And an education cluster is when industry partners with pre-K-12 public education or private or charter schools, but then also partners with higher education, whether it's an associate's degree or bachelor's degree, community college, or university. These education clusters are popping up across the country in an effort to do a couple of things: to be able to provide additional experiential learning opportunities for students, meet or fulfill graduation requirements. And then the third element of that is how do you embed college credit at the high school level, be it dual credit or be it pursuit of an associate's degree even while you're still in high school. But we're having 2 or 3 different conversations with the region, and so last week was able to attend the Age of Agility Summit, which is based out of Colorado, but that's taking place across about a 12-state area. They're starting to have these conversations in the cities and municipalities as to how we can create these partnerships. Public education, K-12, private schools, higher ed, industry partners, and so forth. I provided for you in your packet the Age of Agility report. If you've not seen that, I would encourage you to take a look at that. It's got a wealth of information. Again, some of which we're already working toward, but certainly a lot of opportunities that lie ahead of us, even in our background. The second thing that I would add within that same kind of realm is something that we were informed about just a couple of weeks ago taking shape in Missouri, and that is the Talent for Tomorrow Task Force. And we were approached, and I'll be serving on the task force that culminates or meets next week on the 27th. And it is spearheaded by the Missouri Department of Economic Development in partnership with the Department of Higher Education. That is really kind of a global Missouri perspective on how we can improve the workforce and kind of look forward toward jobs in the future. So they have their state meeting on the 27th. They're going to then have regional meetings across the state, the Kansas City meetings on the 28th. They'll meet periodically over the course of the summer and then culminate in the governor's conference, which I believe will be in September. So I'll be serving on that task force representing the Kansas City area, and we'll certainly report back to our Board of Education as far as that progress will happen. Another item included in the packet this evening is program evaluation for Communications and Marketing Department. Appreciate Dallas and Lynn and their work, as well as others that support the Communications Department. And reflecting on this year, you'll see kind of the high points along with some data as they've looked at social media traction, utilization, those numbers that we're able to pull from Facebook and Twitter and our webpage and so forth. But then you'll also note a couple of areas of focus looking forward into the next year, including some as-needed services, talking about branding as we look at the next iteration of strategic planning, and then at the same time, really doing a communications audit. We're able to lean on the National School Board Association, the University Public Relations Association, as well as the national affiliate, and being able to conduct a communications audit. So we think that will identify some areas of strength, but then some areas that we can certainly focus upon towards some improvement. So appreciate again Dallas and his team putting that together. The other thing that I would share, there's a lot to debrief on as it relates to the spring legislative session, but I really only wanted to tease out 4 bills. The first of which is Senate Bill 769, which passed the legislature, that sits in front of the governor for approval. in terms of a signature. A companion bill that was actually in the House was previously passed that accomplished this similar piece. But there was an amendment, speaking specifically to amendment tied to Senate Bill 769. We connected with the governor's office yesterday because it has a provision that was put into that bill by the Missouri Bankers Association. And it reads specifically to reduce the financial institution tax if and when a reduction in the state's overall corporate tax rate is realized. And so in the event that that particular benchmark is realized, then it triggers a provision to reduce the financial institutions tax, of which we receive revenue. And so each district is impacted in a varying degree. For us, we would stand to lose $59,165.23, which is a significant amount of money, but pales in comparison to Kansas City Public Schools, which stands to lose closer to nearly $500,000, North Kansas City, which stands to lose close to $200,000. So we're asking that the governor not sign that particular bill, particularly in that the rest of the bill was captured in the House bill. It's already been signed by former Governor Greitens before he left office. So we'll see where that takes us. The other three bills to mention are Senate Bill 1007, which dealt specifically with reforming the merit system, as well as trying to capture more state employees as at-will employees. The piece that bill includes is a whistleblower protection amendment, and so we're kind of vetting that particular bill to see its implication on school districts. And we'll be working with our education associations regarding those implications in the event that we need to amend or change, revise Board of Education policy. The next bill is House Bill 1413, which is related to teacher organizations. It's entitled the Paycheck Protection Legislation. There are some provisions within that school districts also need to be mindful of as they enter into the school year, particularly those districts that have collective bargaining, but there will also be other implications for the school districts to consider and impact prior to the start of the school year. And then the last one is House Bill 1729, which deals with prevailing wage in terms of projects that are smaller than $75,000. So now school districts will be able to take advantage of prevailing wage within projects that fall under that particular amendment. The last thing that I would share, if you've been following the news or the media, your MSBA reports, we do have a new governor, Mike Parsons. With that came the appointment of 2 State Board of Education members. A longtime board member was brought back, that in Peter Hersham, who owns, I believe, Hersham Enterprises, obviously in life. He served on the State Board of Education for a number of years. Another appointee that is a little bit closer to home is Carol Hallquist, which some of you may know, who currently serves on the William Gould Board of Trustees, and also has worked, I believe, as the executive director for the Hallmark Foundation. So we're excited that the state board can be back to work. They had a meeting last week. They did announce that they will reset or restart the commissioner search process. And so they'll be off and running with that, do a nationwide search of those that previously had applied to certainly apply again. They're going to open that up for a window of time and begin that process of finalizing the interim commissioner, which is Robert Wilson. Those are the items that I had this evening. We'll certainly open up any questions if you will.
Enjoy the report in more detail.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I thought about printing it for you. You got a PDF here.
Board remarks?
I'm honored that the board received the Outstanding Board of Education Award, but there are very few people on this side of the table who didn't have a particular award. So I would like to thank everyone in this room and everyone outside of this room who contributed to that. It's a good effort.
That said, Kimberly did do a lot to spearhead getting it on the agenda.
And if I get to be embarrassed after you.
It was easy.
Ms. Gossett, congratulations. Maybe for all of years of work for the district. Congratulations, Doctor.
Thank you.
Upcoming meetings, I don't think we meet again for like
A whole month.
6 weeks, July 31st. So everyone enjoy Jungle Summer.
Because then it will be
August.
off to the
We have a motion to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Yes. Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.